Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on MishTalk.com. Welcome back to the show, Mish.
Pleasure to be back on. Heading out of town next week, going to Monument Valley for some picture taking, and looking forward to some good weather there. We've certainly had three things here: rain, and rain.
Hey, well, you could be living in Vancouver if that's the case. Mish, retail sales in both Canada and the U.S. have really taken a pounding lately. What's the lesson we're learning here?
Well, it was a disappointment here. Actually, I sort of expected this. Economists expected a pretty big rebound. We got one, but not as big as expected. And then some categories were pretty weak, especially general merchandise stores and the department stores absolutely clobbered down for the not just this last month, but the whole year. January to April 2017 versus 2016, down 5.2%. That's a pretty big decline. And if you go, guess where it all went. If you go look at the non-store retailers, up 12%. We're talking about places like Amazon. So that's what's going on. The big box retailers are in trouble. Neiman Marcus is struggling with plunging junk bonds. There's a lot of pain here, I think, coming in the box stores, and then when I also think about, well, where's all the hiring coming from? It's coming from the cheap food restaurants, the chains, the box stores, that kind of stuff. So I think we're in for a job slowdown here as well.
With all the business going to, it seems to be online, are some companies dealing with that better than others?
Yeah, and it depends. There's some things that people want to shop for in person, but then, I mean, a lot of times what you see is people will go into a Best Buy or something, look at the stuff, figure out what they want to buy, and then go home and buy it online from Amazon cheaper. That's one of the things that's going on here. So I don't know. I get almost all my camera equipment online, and in fact, I always have actually. But you look at some of this stuff. I mean, Amazon Prime for $99 a year. You get like free overnight or second day shipping, and you don't. Before you would have to say, okay, what do I need? So you don't want to pay all those extra shipping costs. So you say, well, make sure. Is there anything I forgot about this? No, you don't even bother. In the last 3 days, I ordered some things that if I would have sat down and thought about it, well, I could have gotten them all in one order and say, oh, I need this, let me go get it. So, Amazon's not making a lot of money off of this. They're shipping all these little packages. People aren't even bothering, like me, to bundle this stuff together because of the free shipping. So you just order stuff. I need toothpaste. I need whatever. You go out and you order it. And it's the way people are shopping now. And I don't know, these retail stores, I believe, are in trouble. The one aspect of the economy that's still doing well, it's not actually, it's doing over well. Housing is bubbling. You got shacks. Well, you're familiar with this in Vancouver, selling for $500,000 and up for places that are barely livable. So the Fed's managed to blow this bubble, and here they are. They're trying to hike right at a time when it looks like retail sales and consumer spending is faltering. I don't see anything that tells me that a slowdown is not on the way here. Maybe we just perpetually stay at stall mode, which is where we've been for a couple of years, dipping down to 0.5% and then rallying back up to 2%. It's almost as if that's the new normal.
Moody's has downgraded the 6 biggest Canadian banks. They still have an A grade, but it's kind of a warning. Should Americans also be worried about their banking stocks?
The Fed has really done a lot here for the banks. We're paying interest on excess reserves, and these excess reserves are created out of thin air by the Fed. $20 billion is going straight to the bank's bottom line a year for doing nothing. It's just free money to them. I don't know if you've got the same situation there in Canada, but I don't think so. And but in Europe, in contrast, ECB President Mario Draghi has negative interest rates, and it's actually hurt the banks over there. But bear in mind, we're helping out the banks here. It's at the expense of someone. It was at the expense of the consumer, actually. The taxpayer. Ultimately, this money has to come from the taxpayer, even if it's just from inflation, from monetary printing. Of course, they don't look at it that way. The CPI report today came in relatively benign. And the Econoday parrot, which is what I call this person, I don't know whether it's a person or a team, but he writes the Bloomberg Econoday column, and was lamenting, what prices aren't going up enough. The average consumer you can't tell the average consumer that prices aren't going up. Our Obamacare goes up every year, astronomical percentages for some people. Of course, if you're one of the privileged few that doesn't have to pay that, or are on Medicare or Medicaid, where they're not worrying about this kind of thing. So the Fed averages all of these things, the BLS averages all of these things together and comes up and says, healthcare costs are only going up 3%. Well, they're going up 0% for a lot of people, and they're going up 100% for some. And you're not happy if you're in one of those groups that's hit the hardest. It's really maddening what they're doing here. They've destroyed the economy, no price discovery on anything, and it's just a matter of time before we're headed for another slowdown here. I've been calling for a recession for a couple of years. It hasn't happened, so I've stopped calling for them now. It'd be appropriate time for one to hit.
We'll have more with Mike Mish Shedlock right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
I'm Bill McWilliam, President of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Shedlock. Mish, do you think Trump will be able to get through his tax cuts?
I don't think he's not gotten through anything yet, has he? They're cheering that he got through, that the House passed Obamacare. I don't think it's going to survive the Senate. You look at all the things that he said he was going to do, he's achieved like 0 of them. Wall, no funding for a wall either. The very first thing he tried to do was this immigration stunt, and the various federal courts ruled against him. He had to backtrack off of that. I don't think Obamacare passes the Senate, and as for a budget, the House, Speaker Ryan wants a border adjustment tax, which I believe is against, I'm positive is against WTO rules. Will Trump care? I don't know, perhaps not. But even if it passes the House, we're going to be in the same situation. Is this thing going to make it out of the Senate? And I have my doubts. It's possible. It's possible some health care bill passes the Senate, but if they revise it heavily, then the House has to approve it again. Will it pass the House, given that it only passed the House this last time by 2 votes, with virtually every Democrat voting against it? That's where we're at here, and the only way the Senate can pass anything is by a reconciliation bill. Otherwise, the Democrats are going to filibuster it. So we sort of have a dysfunctional government here, and maybe, some people actually like to claim that that's a good thing, because generally legislation only does one thing. It makes matters worse. And it's sad to have to be so cynical, but that's the way it seems here, Jim. And so I don't know. I mean, look, Trump backtracked on Russia, on Syria. He said we had no business in Syria, or said we had no business in Afghanistan. What's he doing? Bombing Syria, wants to send more troops to Afghanistan. So literally everything these people have claimed to want to do has either been reversed or an out-and-out lie. Currency manipulator, where's that? So I think that's a bad idea, but I'm just saying it was a promise made, not followed through.
Has Trump really drained the swamp as he promised to do?
I don't know. Well, certainly he has not drained it. I do know that. What I was starting to say was would things have been worse off under Hillary? I think they would. Hillary's a bigger warmonger, and although Trump's been very disappointing here to me, I'm again, quite certain that under Hillary we would be in a major war of some sort with Syria and a no-fly zone, risking a war with Russia, and what good comes of this? We've got plenty of places in the United States where we should be spending money on infrastructure and other things, instead of dropping bombs and making enemies in Syria and Afghanistan. I don't see what good can possibly come from this. So, but right now, I mean, the stock market keeps churning on merrily, making new highs every few weeks or so. And so I don't. When does it end, Jim? I haven't. I don't know. I clearly don't know, and nor does anyone else.
We'll have more with Mike Shedlock right after this.
Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the 4th largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Shedlock. Mish, is there any one area that looks encouraging right now? It seems to me aircraft orders for Boeing were up, but can that sustain an economy?
Yeah, aircraft orders have been humming along. It's about the only thing keeping the durable goods report in positive territory, actually. Autos have been miserable all year. Auto sales, although the numbers today were kind of confusing, the retail reports said auto sales were up. I don't believe that, actually. Given the manufacturers are reporting that sales are declining 5 and 7% across the board. So these reports you have to take with a little bit of a grain of salt. There's huge revisions all over the place in these things, but aircraft orders are pretty even, and Boeing actually manages its orders pretty well. They've got a backlog of 5 or 6 years out there. So orders right now aren't going to sway things one or much. So that's why a lot of us look at orders excluding aircraft, because they're just that part of the order system, that part of the delivery system. Aircraft have such a long lead time, and people order them. They generally take delivery, and if someone doesn't take delivery, then someone else generally wants that plane anyway. So aircraft orders are pretty consistent. So, but it's the aircraft new orders about the only thing holding up new orders. So that's really not a very good sign from a GDP aspect, because the deliveries, which are shipments, is what counts into GDP, are kind of booked solid for the next 5 or 6 years. So the other stuff is just waiting for an accident to happen, and ultimately it all comes down on consumers buying goods. And they're turning more and more online, and they're spending less on autos, and autos are 20% of retail sales, and the sales have been miserable all year, and I expect them to remain that way. So all these signs are of an economy that's slowing. I think we're going to need to average the last couple months together. The jobs reports the last 2 months were kind of screwy. The economists blame it on the weather. I look at it this way, Jim. The March jobs number was 97,000, revised down to 79,000, I believe. April came by and said it's 211,000, and everyone's singing happy days are here again. See, it was all just weather related. Well, if it was weather related, then then those people who didn't get hired in the snowstorm in the East Coast on the days they took the survey, apparently there was a blizzard or something in the Northeast on the day they took the survey. Well, then they would have been hired the next week or 2 weeks later. And so so despite we had this rebound to 211,000. It should have been, if it really was weather related, it should have been way bigger than 211,000. If you take those 2 months together, average them, you get some job growth of more along the lines of 145,000. That's not an awful number, but it is numbers that continually are heading lower and lower month over month on average. So we're down from the strong hiring of 2 years ago. Last year was even less, and this year the hiring looks a little less. Again, we have to wait to see for the next jobs report. But once again, all the indicators are pointing to an economy that's slowing down, not strengthening, as the Fed says.
And protectionism probably won't help, because the tariff on Canadian softwood is going to cost 10,000 American jobs.
It probably will. It'll save 3 lumber jobs and cost 10,000 other ones. That's probably a good way of looking at it. I don't even know if it saves any jobs actually, because you just can't take the price of lumber is going to go up. It's going to increase the price of a home, and already consumers are struggling with what they can afford and buy, and they're taking out bigger mortgages, and so it just doesn't add up. It's not smart policy. The same thing on steel. The steel manufacturers here in the United States accuse China of dumping steel. Well, guess what? If China's dumping steel, who does that benefit? It benefits U.S. car manufacturers who can build a car and charge a lot less for it if they're getting steel at a cheaper rate. And who's to decide, who's dumping what? The U.S. is one of the worst offenders on sugar tariffs and everything. We can't grow sugar here as efficiently as they can in say Brazil. So we slap tariffs on sugar. Mexico is one of the places we slap a sugar tariff on, when they can grow it better than we can. And why? It's all to protect the sugar lobby. U.S. candy manufacturers have moved out of the country. Some of them have actually moved to Canada simply because they can buy sugar on the world market in Canada cheaper than they can buy it here in the United States with our massive tariffs. All of this stuff distorts the economy. I'm a big fan of free trade. You know that. And Trump is off on the wrong foot, but at least, it's a good thing that he has not followed through with his threat to label China a currency manipulator, or we would probably be in a global trade war right now.
Mish, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Pleasure to be on, and we'll catch you when I get back from Monument Valley.
Have a great holiday.
Thanks.
My guest has been Mish Shedlock. You can catch him on mishtalk.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Questions for the show or for our guests can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.